Chapter 2. Both sides now. But this is human life. The war, the deeds, the disappointment, the anxiety, imaginations, struggles, far and nigh. All human. John Keats. One of the most meaningful songs of our time is Joni Mitchell's work entitled Both Sides Now. It has become a favorite of mine because it seems to be saying we need to look at life as it is for both sides, not just one. This is an urgent concern of every person, to be able to look at the totality of human existence from both sides, joy and sorrow, hope and despair, life and death, success and failure. The songwriter seems to be saying, there was a time when I looked at life from one side only, but then life was a mere fairy tale. I was not with it. Now I've changed. I've seen life from both sides, and in living every day I realize that it does not have to be a simple explanation. This message speaks to an important need we have in life and in the church. That is, the need to be able to be confronted with the realities of human life, and to look at the message of the gospel in terms of where people are, where they live, the kinds of questions they are asking, their needs, their concerns, their anxieties, their fears, their hopes, and their frustrations. Both sides. Now, life is not a smooth highway. There are hills and valleys, and at the same time, dangerous curves as well as detours along the road. We will always live in the midst of perplexities that confuse us and difficulties that discourage us. There are experiences in life in which the day darkens as a result of somber clouds on the horizon. The perspective from which a person looks at life makes a significant difference. I once heard of two men who were looking out the window of their prison cell. They had the same view. However, one saw mud and the other saw stars. The facts were the same, but the attitudes were different. Another part of the song that is very meaningful to me, and also explains one of the reasons why I am so attracted to it, is in the third verse, in which the lyrics say, "From win to lose, and still, somehow, it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all." The arts in general, and music in particular, are often effective in communicating the truth. Their unique role is sometimes to raise questions, the right kinds of questions. They speak a language that attempts to express what sometimes seems inexpressible. The confession in Both Sides Now, I really don't know life at all, is the beginning of a meaningful journey of learning about life. To understand the meaning of life is the desire of most individuals. Sometimes it may take a whole lifetime to be able to understand what life is all about. That is the mystery of life. For someone to be able to sing or to say, "I really don't know life at all," takes considerable humility. But this is the place to begin. It is the first step of a lifelong pilgrimage to say, I am learning. I am discovering life's meaning. I am willing to grow, to become aware of the variety, the dimensions, and the depth of human life. What about life? What is its meaning? This is an enduring question of humankind. Men and women reading this book, and those living in your community and elsewhere, may be saying, what is the purpose of life? What is it all about? Sometimes the question is asked in the midst of joy, when things are going just the way you want them, when you got the position you wanted, or the right promotion, or the good salary, or you find the perfect spouse, or the blessing we have in good children, and life is beautiful. Then you may want to know the significance of so much goodness and so many blessings. You may ask the question of the meaning of life in the midst of a beautiful experience or a sense of accomplishment. But at other times, the question is asked during an experience of brokenness, in the midst of despair, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of evil, and in the midst of trying circumstances, when you want to know why. Why? There are many definitions of life. Algernon Charles Swinburne, the great English poet, wrote in Ave atque vale, to pardon life if it was bitter, but to give thanks if it was sweet. Danish writer of fairy tales Hans Christian Andersen pronounced that the life of every person is a fairy tale written by God's fingers. Thomas Carlyle, the Scottish essayist, considered even the meanest person's life to be a poem. It would be interesting to ask Jesus, what is the definition of life? How do you understand life? What kind of definition would he give? As a matter of fact, one significant thing the New Testament shows us is that Jesus will not give us a definition of life. He will simply give us life. That is what the Gospel of John proclaims. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Chapter 10, verse 10. Not a definition of life, but life. And if he were to give us a definition of life, I believe he would say, life is a gift. And so we raise the question, if life is a gift, what kind of a gift? The gift of life is complex. Make no mistake about it. We would be naive if we did not acknowledge the complexity of human existence as revealed by the signs of our time. There are circumstances we just do not understand. We waste our time when we try to give simplistic answers to difficult questions. Perhaps one of the mistakes we have made as a church is our own unwillingness to wrestle, and struggle with the complexity of life, and to present the gospel, the good news, fully aware of that complexity of human existence. We need to concede that life oftentimes comes as a dilemma. It is an enigma with men and women forever asking questions about the future. We do not know the future. Our only understanding of it is its uncertainty. On the other hand, we can also talk about the Lord of the future, the Alpha and the Omega, the one who understands the beginning and the end. We can present God, who has given us the gift of life, and has not forsaken us, and has not left us alone. But in the complexity of human existence, and in the midst of unanswered questions, and the dilemmas of human life, our Creator is there with us. Therefore, we can face life unafraid. Life is complex, and I would rather say that it is than to attempt to have easy interpretations about life's essence. I study and pray in order to be empowered to face the complications of life rather than espouse simplistic answers about its meaning. Conflict and controversy are with us and will continue. This is, as someone has said, the small print of life's insurance policy. It is complex. Have you ever wondered why the Westerns on television seem to survive all the programming changes? Year after year, no matter what else is displaced by the networks, the Westerns go right on. Why? It is not really because we yearn for violence. It is because Westerns appeal to a deeper mood within us, the longing for something simple. One college professor has said, the reason we like Westerns is that they are a relief for people living in a complicated world who are looking for change in a more simple world. The reason I like Westerns is that everything is pretty clear in them, and everything gets settled in the end. One can almost distinguish immediately between the good guys and the bad guys on television, and you don't have to wait forever for the issue to be resolved. Evil usually gets punished. The bad guys get shot within the half hour between commercials. It is all so simple. The appeal of the Western is not to our fascination with violence, but to our unconscious desire to escape from unbearable complexity to a world of satisfying simplicity. Right and wrong are more nebulous in real life. Part of life's complexity is the element of sorrow and suffering. Robert Frost, the renowned American man of letters, expressed this concept eloquently in his poem, Acquainted with the Night. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. This gift of life is not only complex, it is also full of mystery. There is a beautiful song entitled, "Ah, Sweet Mystery of Life, At Last I've Found Thee," which is about the dreams and hopes of a couple beginning their journey together. But the ecstasy of that mystery does not last forever. This song conveys the image that with marriage, all the mysteries of life disappear or are resolved. But in reality, when a couple gets married, the next day or the next week brings discovery of more mysteries, and the discovery that marriage does not solve all mysteries. The mystery of new encounters, new relationships, new problems, new joys, new responsibilities, new decisions, new brokenness, and new disappointments present themselves. There are mysteries throughout life until we come to the end of the journey. The gift of life is full of mystery, and I'm glad for it. I rejoice with the mystery of life. I affirm the mystery of human existence. This is part of the challenge and part of the excitement of living. I do not want to know all the answers. I want to be able to enter into the mystery of human existence with a sense of adventure, a sense of searching, a sense of discovery, and a sense of awakening to the new possibilities of every day, day by day. Samuel Butler, 19th century writer, in Notebooks, 19 and 12, stated, "Life is the art of drawing sufficient conclusions from insufficient premises. Indeed, the gift of life is full of mysteries, of birth and death, sickness and health, hatred and love, and brokenness and reconciliation. Then there is the mystery of the love of God that transcends all of the mysteries of human existence, the wonder of God's love, the beauty of God's love, and the compassion of a loving Savior. Among all fears and anxieties, the one most frequently encountered is the fear of death. With reference to death, Shakespeare placed some wise words upon the lips of Hamlet in the immortal statement, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveler returns. Death is a reality that may knock at our door any day, whether we live in a mansion or a hut. The question is, how can we face the mystery and the reality of death without feeling terribly fearful and afraid? In his classic, The Pilgrim's Progress, John Bunyan writes about the secret of victory over death. Life is looked upon as a long pilgrimage that is initiated in this world and continued throughout eternity. When the deceptive character, mistrust, tries to discourage Christian, the pilgrim, from continuing through the journey, Christian says, I must venture. To go back is nothing but death. To go forward is fear of death, and life everlasting beyond it. I will go forward. Christian later arrives at the celestial city. In another section of the book, when Mr. Valiant for truth is summoned to heaven, he does not regret the countless difficulties which he faced in the wilderness, nor the scars of battles fought along the way. Crossing the river to the celestial city, he says, Death, where is thy sting? And as he went down deeper, he said, Grave, where is thy victory? So he passed over, and all the trumpets sound for him on the other side. The gift of life is complex. It is full of mystery. But it has some sunshine. For a few people, it has a lot of sunshine. It is not all beauty, joy, and happiness, but it does have some sunshine. When you go through the dark night of the soul, and every person at some time or another goes through some kind of dark night of the soul, remember, there is some sunshine awaiting you if you will venture forward, or it may come to you if you patiently wait. After going through the complexity of human existence, facing the reality of the mystery of life, one is always encouraged and inspired by the fact that there is some light. The concept of light symbolizes that there is hope in the world, realistic, authentic hope that is grounded in a God of hope. Ultimately, we are prisoners of hope. Let us rejoice in hope. When some people seem to talk about despair, the emphasis should be on hope. When others talk about doubt, we should stress faith. When others seem discouraged, our goal should be to highlight the meaning of courage. The courage to face life unafraid. The courage to say yes to life. The courage to love, to witness, to serve, and to preach. Think about what Paul Tournier, Swiss psychiatrist, writes in The Adventures of Living. Faith, far from turning us away from the world, brings us back to it. It awakens in us a new interest in the world, in the concrete reality of every day, hard, laborious, difficult, often painful as it is, but wonderful nevertheless. The joy of living, of making an effort, of having a goal to aim at. The joy of moving a finger, smelling a perfume, of looking at something, of hearing a voice, of learning something and loving someone. I still remember the time I viewed the film, The Elephant Man. It was a poignant, personal experience. It made such an impact upon me that there were times when I wanted to close my eyes to keep from having to leave the theater. It is a portrait of rare human beauty blossoming from an apparent monster. The Elephant Man attempts to win people's recognition of his humanness and be a part of all other human beings. At the same time, he possesses an unusual sensitivity, artistry, spirituality, and compassion. He is on another level as he tries to communicate to normal people what it means to be human. On one occasion, the Elephant Man recites his 23rd psalm in an agonizing voice. He has been forced by society to hide and remain silent, but he breaks through his prison and affirms repeatedly that he is a human being. When he was received as such, the sunshine came through. When on our journey and in our dilemmas, we find ourselves to be weary captives of despair, we need to see the light of hope and share it with those who follow the motto of the Christopher Society. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. It is just a little light, but it is better to light one candle than curse the darkness. I want us to walk and to march to the sound of a different drummer, even if we do not keep pace with our companions, because we are able to understand life as having some sunshine, some light, sometimes a lot of it, sometimes a little, and that's good enough. This assurance brings healing and wholeness for all of life. The sunshine of life is experienced through knowing the meaning of being set free, through appropriating the exuberant joy of true liberation. The bondage of life keeps us from looking into the radiance of the light, illuminating our faith throughout our journey across a perilous desert. We may go forward, plodding along, day by day, strengthened with the boundless vitality of a God who loves us and sustains us in any and all circumstances. You are loved. At the end of our journey, how inspiring it would be to be able to sing with the prolific poet, Alfred, Lord Tennyson, from Idylls of the King, The Passing of Arthur. I have lived my life, and that which I have done, may he within himself make pure. Life, what is it all about? Both sides? Happiness and tears? Yes, I really don't know life at all. No, I do not. But I do know that it is a gift. And Jesus gives us that gift, and he gives us that gift now abundantly. Complex? Yes, it is complex. Mystery? Yes, there is a great deal of mystery. But there is also the light of life, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Think about these questions and observations. In what way is your life complex? What are some specific things you can do to unravel the complexity of your existence? Would you be willing to do some serious and honest prioritizing of your loyalties? There may be some unanswered questions in your life. What are they? Are you willing to press forward, even though there may remain unanswered questions? Are you depressed? Or are you joyful? Can you convey an attitude of celebration? What are some specific sources of joy you have and would be willing to share? Pray aloud. Give me, O God, wisdom for the complexity of life, insight to penetrate into its mysteries, and receptivity to rejoice in its light. Amen. A Thought for Reflections. Both Sides Now, by Joni Mitchell. Bows and flows of angel hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way. Now they only block the sun, they rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up till down, and still somehow, it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel, as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way. Now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go. And if you care, don't let them know, don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from gift and take, and still somehow, it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say, I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads. They say I've changed. Something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win to lose, and still somehow, it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.